All right, welcome back to another edition of M.A.N.D.O. Season 2, Chapter 14, titled The Tragedy, directed by Robert Rodriguez, which is a very cool director to have on a Star Wars show. I am Brian, joined as always by Willie. Willie, what did you think of The Mandalorian Chapter 14, The Tragedy?
I didn't think it was a tragedy, really. I mean, this was an amazing half hour of television. It absolutely fantastic.
Loved it every step of the way. I will say that I I started off on this episode disappointed for two reasons. The first is that I checked Twitter and got spoiled immediately. Chapter
Yeah.
14 was trending with Boba Fett and the tragedy. And the second reason I was disappointed before I even saw the episode is that my brain initially, and this is not a joke, my brain initially went to, okay, Boba Fett and the tragedy. We're going to get the tragedy of Boba Fett surviving in the Sarlacc pit, and he's going to like tell the story. And my brain literally went to, we're going to get a flashback, and we're going to get Jabba's palace. And oh my God, Max Rebo is going to be in this. I literally thought that, and then when I watched the episode, the tragedy was not in relation to Boba Fett. We did not get the flashback, but it's fine. Uh, it's okay. Another episode of The Mandalorian without Max Rebo, it's fine. But to echo your point, yes, I absolutely love this episode because it is everything I have been asking for. It is a Western episode. There are setups and payoffs not only in this episode but this season. B stories are now affecting the A story, and things that we've seen in this episode. I feel like unlike season one, there aren't just siloed episodes because now I feel like even like chapter one has relevance and chapter three has like it's all been building and it's all been for a reason. So I really love this episode. But what was your favorite part of the episode?
Oh,
Well,
jeez.
tons.
Yeah, I think that fight, Boba's fight with the staff, I I somehow, or I mean, they somehow lived up to like 30 years of Boba Fett hype because he has never ever done anything cool. And has never and don't get me wrong, I loved Boba Fett growing up, and then I don't remember what I think it was when I was rewatching them in college, and I was like, wait, that's all he does? I was like, no. I'm like, I remember all of this cool stuff that Boba Fett does, and there's nothing. He legitimately does absolutely nothing.
he,
Um,
he tracks Han Solo to Bespin, and then that's it. He does absolutely nothing in Return of the Jedi except get embarrassed immediately.
Embarrassing me, and yeah, and so I mean, it's literally just been a cool armor design for 30 years. And
Yep.
but such a cool armor design that it has spawned, Filoni's obsession with Mandalorians, this show. And so I was initially like when we saw Boba, I was like, I don't really I was like, I don't care. Like I don't care that he's here. Like the like Mando is essentially a stand-in for Boba anyways. It's like what if we had another character that was exactly like Boba in every single way except not dead. Um so I was like we don't really need both of them, but oh my god, his fight scene. Like yeah, he absolutely fantastic.
Now, are you talking the first part of the fight scene or the second part of the fight scene when he gets the armor?
So I'm talking when his staff stuff specifically.
Yeah.
The beginning, yeah, yeah.
I would say my favorite part of the episode was um, the assault on the hill. So the Imperial remnant dropships come down, and
Yep.
I'm talking about the first half. So again, Boba pre grabbing the armor, and Mando is currently knocked out. So the first part of this fight, when the new Empire is trying to storm the hill a little bit, and it's just Boba Fett and Fennec Shan, who's back from season one, are holding them off. I really just thought that was incredibly shot. Obviously, you have a very talented director in Robert Rodriguez directing this, but it was just, again, it felt so much like a Western action movie vibe of like storming a hill and they're using boulders and, Gatling gun. It was awesome.
It was just really cool. And I mean, like one of the things I liked too, and I don't know, because I thought about this afterwards and was like, maybe we've seen them in other places, but I feel like we very rarely see stormtroopers outdoors.
Sure.
It's,
Okay,
you know,
I think I follow you.
like it's normally like in spaceships or,
Yeah.
stuff like that. Like, and just, again, seeing the iconic stormtrooper design, from the original trilogies out in an environment like they'd never been in before.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really cool. Like, this is what the show should be doing. Like, this is everything I want from the Mandalorian. So
I feel the exact same way. What anything surprise you in this episode?
yeah, so I think the thing that is going to go down as my most surprising thing is that I thought this episode was better than last week's, which had a
Wow, that's huge.
and if you had asked me, I never would have said that, but I think this is hands down, um hands down the best episode of The Mandalorian. And I think it's in contention for some of the like continual best half hour, best 30 minutes of Star Wars ever. And
I think you're right on that.
yeah, and there's so like, and they just had so much, and like seeing Boba in the armor again, it shouldn't have felt that awesome. And because it's literally a character who's done nothing, putting on armor that is, that, well, at that point, we don't really know if it's his or not. And it's just like everything was done so well.
It was really they really made a meal out of that Boba Fett using the armor for the first time seeing it, and it was worth it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, and then like he loses his ship, which is like huge. That's his livelihood. That's his everything.
That was my moment actually that I was most surprised. Like when Moff Gideon's light cruiser, which is in orbit, shoots down and it's like just not even damages the Razor Crest, but completely destroys it. My mouth was open because I don't know. I thought the Razor Crest was awesome. Like I've always been a Razor Crest fan,
Yeah.
since season one. So I was really shocked, and I'm a little bit disappointed that it doesn't exist because like if he goes and gets another one, like I'm sure there are other models of the same. I just feel like it's less impactful. So he's gonna have to get another ship, and I'm sure it'll be cool, and I'm sure we'll like it. But I really liked the Razor Crest.
What if just stay with me here?
Okay,
What if he gets the Slave One though?
that would be cool. That would be cool. I have a thing about Boba Fett later, and we'll get to it. That would complicate that, but that would be.
Okay.
I feel like perhaps that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
I'd be interested to. I'll be interested to see what they do with that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start with my didn't like because it's a big one, and I
Okay.
really. It's like this episode would be a 10 out of 10 if not for this thing, which honestly might drop it down to like a 9. Even like I'm putting it like a 9.5 out of 10. Not that we're rating anything on a scale, but like just in my head. And it's that Mando has absolutely no reaction to the child being taken, like none at all. He doesn't yell. He doesn't get angry. He doesn't ask Boba Fett for help. Boba Fett offers help, and it's actually this exchange that really got me. Boba Fett shows the Mandalorian that the armor is in fact his, and that they also do a little. Dave Filoni does a little bit of canon cleanup and makes Jango Fett a Mandalorian foundling. We'll get back to that in a second, but Boba Fett says, I'll help you get the child," and Din's reaction is the child is gone, not. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do, or yeah, thanks, that would be awesome. He's like, the child's gone. He's almost like, well, I'm kind of like, it's no longer my issue. Like that's just how it felt and read in the scene. And again, here's where not having a base protagonist, like having a mass protagonist, is detrimental, because I truly did not feel any emotion from Din when the child was taken, when Boba offered his help, and then he then flies to Navarro in the Slave One with Boba Fett and Fennec, and he finds Cara Dune, who's with the New Republic, and he's like, we need to get Bill Burr out. And I'm like, but you haven't even said that you're like going to. I'm like, obviously that's what he's doing, but I don't know. How did you feel about Mando's reaction? Did you read it differently? Did you feel that he was upset?
No, I mean, I think I think you're right on the mark there. It's not something that I had picked up on, but I think that's a problem we've had this whole season, is just Mando's reacting, or lack thereof, of any time the child's in trouble. I think that's specific. Like, the child is gone. I think what they were going for was just, it was so, like, it didn't register to him, like,
Okay.
like it was just so unfathomable that he's just like, the child's gone. But I don't, it's hard when you have nothing, you're literally just going off of vocal delivery,
Yeah.
for stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I do agree with you, as like, I think I'd probably put this at like a 9 out of 10. My initial dislike I wrote down was Boba, because I was just like, what, like, but I still think the that their plotting is heavy-handed and a little sloppy. I mean, and at the end, you kind of hit on it, where Boba's like, well, like, we made this verbal deal, and now the deal's not complete unless I help you save the child, which is like, not that's not really what they said. They were like,
No.
we're not going to shoot the child in the head if you give me the armor.
Yeah.
It is very, very different from, we're going to now help you save the child.
We now have a life that, and like, I think Mando was even like, well, you guys just held your own for, like, I was unconscious, and you guys held up your end of the bargain. And again, I have a theory on this when we get to things I noticed, so I'm gonna keep
Okay.
a pin in that. But
the other, one of the other things too is, I'm not entirely convinced that Boba would hate stormtroopers. And so the stormtroopers landing and him immediately being like, okay, I'm going to protect Din and choose sides, was odd, because the last time we see Boba, he's in the employment of Vader. And so I was like, okay, that's a little, again, it's things are happening because we need them to happen, not because they necessarily make sense. But
agreed. I think the whole Boba Fett thing, as awesome as it was, the fighting, I think all of his motivations and everything that's happening are interesting. Again, I'm going to get to it, but what did you what were some things that you just overall liked about the episode? Again, so much.
Yeah. I think, one of the things that I wanted to point out was how, I'm going to say, how Jedi dumb Mando was. And so I'm talking about, like, the beginning of the episode, where he's just like, so what, you just sit on this stupid rock? Like, you just sit on this dumb rock and do...
Is this rock a Jedi?
Yeah. It's like, it actually makes me think of, I know the humor in the sequels is chagrined a bit, but like one of the bits I really liked was when it's Finn and Han, and he's like, well, how are we gonna take down the base? You have a plan? And Finn's like, yeah, we'll just use the Force. And he's like, that's not how it works. Like, and like, so I like, and it's just funny because it just reinforces, even one episode away from meeting Ahsoka, it reinforces this show as an outsider perspective to the universe as we've essentially seen it been built out so far. Everything else is from, the point of view of the Jedi. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the like headcanoning that, like, the Clone Wars TV show is like actually Jedi propaganda.
I think I've heard some
So
of that.
yeah, so it's not taking it to that extreme, but
Mm-hmm.
everything we see in Star Wars is from the point of view of a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
That and even to going so far as Ahsoka eventually realizes the Jedi are wrong, Luke does, Rey does, so on and so forth. But he just has no idea how the Force works, and it's hilarious.
It is nice. Um, I liked my. I didn't want my favorite thing to be another father-son thing, but I really liked the little training session they were having on the Razor Crest in the beginning. And again, it just made that moment where he has no reaction more difficult.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
liked that. Another thing I liked, and this was pointed out by some Twitter account, is that the connection between Boba and Fennec was very similar of the Attack of the Clones little pairing between Jango Fett and Zam Wessel. And they're almost like they put a costume side by side of Zam and Fennec, and they're very similar. And she also has like a large um, sharpshooter gun. She is the shapeshifter that Obi-Wan chases in the beginning of Attack of the Clones. That
Uh,
Django then murders mercilessly because she was about to give up Count Dooku. So I did like that. I thought that was nice. Once it was pointed out, it didn't register for me when I was watching the episode.
I mean,
And then
there's.
also,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and also the Mando flying the child with the jetpack was great.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I am, it is interesting because you'd mentioned, how much payoff we had from things this season. But I mean, we had a lot of, like Boba Fett's thing, like I said, like this was 30 years of payoff. Um, and so I am, I don't want to say I'm concerned, but I think I'm reminding myself that every episode of this show is not going to be able to bring back an old character and make it resonate as well as they did with Boba. Like
Yeah.
this isn't a trick that the show is going to be able to do in season 5, in 6, in 7.
No.
Which again makes me wonder if this could be just like a 2-3 season show, as it just sets up everything else.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I see no, with the show being as successful as it was in season 1, I see no reason to bring Boba in already, unless they're looking at a tighter story. But
I agree, and I think I don't think we're gonna get in season 5 the episode that makes Jar Jar Binks cool. But is there anything in this episode, other than the ramifications of what actually played out, that you noticed that you want to keep track of for future seasons or episodes?
yeah, so I did. I think my note for this was that this is a running theme that we've joked about throughout the whole thing, but this episode was still a video game. It's literally, and like that's what I said as I was, because I was texting you as I watched it. Like I'm like, if this is literally the like escort mission where you're waiting for like the elevator to load, or you're waiting for the mage to cast the spell after charging up long enough that you're literally defending the location from invaders. I was like, this is a literally again a level slash scene from a video game. And they just keep nailing it. So
I appreciate it. And what else are they gonna? What other video game tropes are they gonna employ in the future? Um, so here's my thing, and this is I'm gonna try to keep this my only speculation of our recap. And it's not more of a speculation, more of a I'm theorizing.
okay,
I'm trying to read the tea leaves here. So Boba Fett, when last we saw him, Empire Jedi, is only out for himself. Has dealings with Vader, and Vader's like, hey, don't completely disintegrate people next time because like I need stuff. So Boba is clearly like not on level. Boba Fett also makes a comment in this episode about whether or not he takes the creed. I think Mando asks if he takes the creed. And Boba says like my creed is only to myself or something. I'm like that rings true. And then there's this whole weird deal of like I'll protect you if you give me the armor. And why isn't Boba just taking the armor? Why is Boba offering a deal at all? And my suspicion is that Boba is not on the level, and that we have a betrayal coming up. And Fennec even says the price of that child is getting pretty high. So I think Boba and Fennec are manipulating Din into playing on his naivete of the world around him, his relationship to being a Mandalorian, and they're trying to lure him in and be like, yeah, we'll help you protect the child. We'll give you a ride on our ship. That conveniently did not get blown up. I'm not saying the two things are related, but I'm not saying Boba is working for the Imperials because obviously he didn't need to. But I don't think Boba's on the level, and I think maybe this is just my desire to have Boba as a villain. I don't think that he's being forthcoming, and I think we're getting a reverse betrayal on that. And
that would be really interesting because that fixes why he's fighting the stormtroopers.
Mm-hmm.
And it fixes, he tries to save the child, but then backs off when Din asks him to, which I think you can play off as he's realizing that if he wants to safely get the child, it's going to be so much easier to have Din do it for him.
Yep.
I like that. I like that.
I could see because it seems like the next episode is going to be assembling the team episode. So we got Care, we got to get Bill Burr out. I think we're probably going to get Grief and Care coming with him, Boba and Fennec there. Possibly we pick up Frog Lady. Who knows? Bo-Katan. Maybe the call goes out. I think you were right. I think your prediction is that we won't get Ahsoka back. I think we could get Bo-Katan and her Night Owls back. And I could see them getting the child back, and only in the finale, the final moments of the finale, Boba Fett be like, I'm gonna have to be taking that child now, Mando. And he's like, whoa, no,
Ooh, I like that a lot. I like
interested
that a lot.
to see if that's how that plays out. But quickly, I'm gonna give you something that I've been thinking of, and this is a reference literally for no one other than possibly me and you. Okay. And I'm gonna see if you have picked up on this, and I'm gonna see how you feel about it. So I was writing this down as I was thinking about the episode, and what I said is Din and his journey are largely inconsequential to the larger, grander story going on, which includes much more seasoned players in it, Boba, Bo, Ahsoka, who enter and exit the story as needed, usually withholding key information, speaking in mysterious references, while other characters slyly watch the action from afar or tend to be only one step behind the main action. So, my thought about that is I think that's a very specific way to handle things, and the vibe I get from that is the same vibe I always got from reading a series of unfortunate events. In the case that the Mandalorian is like the Mandalorian orphans, and that there is this larger war going on between two opposing factions of a secret society, and they're pretty inconsequential to that narrative. But all of these key players in that story are filtering in and out of their lives and, kind of affecting it in certain ways, and there are people behind them and people watching them, and it just feels very... And the reason I'm saying that is because I think that it's easier to draw a line between Star Wars and Marvel. Be like, oh no, they're hinting at things. But I feel like Marvel does it in such a way, and not that the show doesn't do it, but I think Marvel does it in such a way that if you're a nerd and you've done your homework, that all of the references land for you. Whereas I think The Mandalorian is doing it in a way, the same way a series of unfortunate events did it, which is not like unique to that series, but in a way that is a mystery. So again, I feel like, and that I was thinking about Boba. I was thinking about, are we going to get a Boba betrayal? I was thinking about how Star Wars lately has been using a lot of film noir, like in Solo and things like that. So I think that this show is using a lot of tactics that are found in things like film noir and things like mysteries and crime stories, because I think that this, at the center of this show, whether it is about Din's identity or not, I think is going to be a larger mystery. But what do you think about that now that I'm laying a series of unfortunate events at your brain?
Yeah, no, and it's funny because I just reread that series, it's really interesting that you say that. I mean, for a couple of reasons. One, since those were a series of books, you were essentially had a new location and a new set of players each time, which works very well for a serialized TV show. um, the one thing I don't know if I'm 100% sold on is I don't know if there is one central larger mystery here surrounding the Mandalorian. Instead, I kind of think we're getting we're getting a look into like a bunch of different mysteries, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not sure if I mean, because for the Baudelaires, it's essentially it's all the VFD stuff.
Yeah.
And that's all, like, everything in some way or another is related to Olaf and their parents and all that. I'm not sure if Star Wars is going to go so far as to connect Moff Gideon, Ahsoka, the Frog Lady. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm not sure if they're going to do that much. But it's actually the really interesting point that I think you've hit on here. Is I was reading this piece earlier this week that was talking about how the Mandalorian is a side character.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I think it is all of these we're seeing these glimpses into all of these main stories, and then Din's just like, see ya, I'm gonna go do my own thing.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, and I do think that's very much on purpose. I think this is set up as a side story that's gonna illustrate a whole bunch of different things of a bunch of different stories. Who would have thought? Yeah, like I really liked your alliteration there for canon cleanup. Like, who would have thought we were gonna get any backstory of Django at all? Because it's never. And I think, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, I was complaining about that. I was like, it's always bothered me that the most famous person wearing that armor is actually not a Mandalorian.
Right.
Like, that has always driven me crazy. He just looked like, oh, Boba just had it because it looked cool. Well, that's dumb. Like, but yeah, I mean, I think they're doing, and it'll be interesting too with the mystery stuff and with the betrayal. Like, I think they're pulling in they're doing a lot of like world building, in a way of Marvel, in the way of series of unfortunate events, where it's like it's always hinting at bigger things out there somewhere. And like, I mean, the Baudelaires never really, I mean, they don't really solve anything.
No, the reader does more than they do.
Yeah. And so it'll be interesting, if there is some, I mean, we've talked a lot about Palpatine or stuff like that. Like, that might be something that the show that Din never figured. Like, Din could at some point realize that cloning this child has something to do with some like Imperial program that we know leads to Palpatine's regeneration or something.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you went down, like, as you said, I think you're probably right, and that there might not be one larger mystery, but a couple. But if you were to try to tie it down, and again, this is just trying to find some threads, because I just get that vibe. I watched this, and because in the previously on, they showed the scene from the end of the Gunslinger episode in season 1 where that cape walks up on Fennec, and there was all speculation of who was that, and it turned out to be Boba Fett. And I'm like, that seems like there's a TV show mystery thing to do, but I was also like, that feels like a very series of unfortunate events thing to do. Like, this guy was here right after you were, and then the Cobb Vanth episode, he was there again, and now he's here, and it all seems a little too convenient, a little too
he just keeps showing up.
Showing up at opportune times. So if you try to tie it down to one mystery, I think the mystery is the child. Who took the child from the temple? Where was he? Why is he being used? Why does Moff Gideon know who Din Djarin is? When he first gets there, he's the one that first drops his name in the finale. Why does he know who he is? Why did they send Bounty Hunt? Like, I think that there is something there that we might be able to tie to.
That would be. I mean, I hope you're right, because I think that would be. I think the way you're putting it all together would be some of the best storytelling that Star Wars has ever done. Because it's building stuff at almost the small scale level, like, and like the mysteries slowly unfolding around Din, and he's not really, he's just, he woke up and his parents were dead and his house was burned down, like,
Exactly.
He just randomly took this job to try to save this kid. He didn't know what was going to happen.
No. And he just, the whoever is pulling the strings didn't count on him catching a conscience and going back for him and then joining the world. It's very much a film noir thing to be a hero that gets into a situation where they didn't like they're completely in over their head. It's the famous line in Chinatown where Jack Nicholson confronts the villain and they're like, "You have absolutely no idea what you've wandered into, but now you're in it." And I get that vibe from Moff Gideon. But we will keep a pin in that, and we will. I will be sure to get out my.
I think the thing that I really, really like, breaking it up a little bit, but I think the thing that I really like about that theory too is that it plays off the idea again of Mando not being super competent.
Mm-hmm.
Which I also like, not even just about Jedi stuff, but it's just like he's I mean, he's a good fighter, but he's also never gone up against anyone
No.
He's going, and so we talk about he needs to who knows what's going on here.
Yeah. It's we'll keep track of it.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I like that.
I'm glad that you followed me on a series of unfortunate train.
Yeah. I just a few months ago finished going through all of them again. So
they're wonderful.
Oh yeah.
I want to run through. I have 20 in and outs for you. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to give you 20 moments from the episode in chronological order, and you just tell me if you were in or out on them, and then if you have any follow-ups, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Jedi training on the ship. In the beginning.
I'm gonna say out.
Loved it. Number 2, Jedi Mountain. What did you think when we got to Jedi Mountain?
I'm in for Jedi Mountain.
Out. Hated it. Thought it was lame looking. I think this is like sequel Disney era Star Wars, and like it's just a bunch of it looks like Jedi Stonehenge, and I'm like, man, this is dumb.
That's why I liked it, because it looked like Jedi Stonehenge.
Okay, well there you go. Number 3, Grogu lighting the beacon of Gondor. Grogu lighting the beacon of Gondor into the sky. The Force apparently is now an energy. I can't. I was out on this. So, are you in or out on the beacon?
I'm out. Yeah, I'm out on that too.
Okay, good. Number 4, Fennec Shan is back.
Honestly, I mean, I remembered that someone. I'm out. I remembered that someone died in season 1. I didn't remember it was her. I didn't recognize her. I didn't remember her name. Like, yeah.
Like her. I'm in. Number 5, the Jango Fett line, quoted from Attack of the Clones. Boba says, "I'm a simple man making his way through the galaxy."
I'm in.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah. He even put a little Luke Skywalker on the end, and he said, "Like my father, my father before me," or something. It was I loved it. Number 6, if the M.A.N.D.O gives Boba his armor, he'll guarantee his safety. Again, we talked on this. Is just the deal that they strike.
Dumb.
Yeah, out. Dumb. Stormtroopers storming the hill.
Absolutely in.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Boba Fett caving in a trooper helmet with a Tusken Raider gaffy stick.
Yep, 200%.
It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in Star Wars.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we've been tracking this season too. Dark, it's
dark. Like he straight up murdered a lot of people. That is not light Star Wars action. Number 9, and one of my a runner-up for me for a favorite moment: Fennec jumping off the rock and then firing backwards to kill a stormtrooper.
Ooh, I don't know if I don't remember that one, but I'm gonna say I'm in. That
Yeah,
sounds yeah.
it was awesome. Uh, full Boba in his armor.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I'm in. I'm going to caveat and say I think he needs a costume like upgrade. Like I think he needs the full gear because with his cloak, I think it looked a little bit like, when a 4-year-old dad puts on his Letterman jacket from high school. I loved it. I loved the helmet, but I was just like, okay, we need to just get the full thing
Oh
because
my
I
God.
can't do the half.
That's so perfect that Boba Fett is the high school quarterback who's never given up his glory days in high school. Like, I mean, it is, and I do. I'm not to completely take us off from that, but
Okay.
I do like that they made it like it's not just him getting his armor back because he wants his armor because it's Boba Fett's armor.
Right.
It's because it was his dad's.
It's his
It's
father's.
yeah
Exactly. It was really nice.
yeah
Um, Boba's jetpack rocket shot where he shoots the troop and it hits the other one.
so good.
It's so good, and then the line of "I was aiming for the other one" was perfect. Number 12, Jango Fett as a Mando foundling. Again, uh, canon cleanup.
I it's what I don't what was the cleanup that they did last week that I complained about that I was like the baby being snuck out of the temple.
Yeah.
This was better than that, but
Mhm.
I think they did it and it made sense in the episode and it grounded the episode. I don't necessarily like the idea of his father as a foundling, but I think it did everything it needed to do.
Yeah. Agreed. Number 13, Moff Gideon's easiest bad guy plot in the world. Look over here, and I don't want you to look over here. As they go and they grab the child.
I'll go out.
Yeah, executed well, shot well, but there's 3 smart people, and no one's like, maybe we should go defend the child. Okay, number 14, I'm calling them Iron Vaders, the Dark Troopers.
Totally out. We didn't get to mention this, but that was one of my that was a huge disappointment. They're not cool at all.
Not cool at all, and they're not troopers at all. I expected them to be actual troopers that possibly were force enhanced,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they'll be cooler because I think there is some speculation that their armor is made of Beskar, so that lightsabers won't be able to cut through them. But I just think the design and how they look, how they're walking, I was very out on it.
It's very like is it the Sentinels in Iron Man or what's the
Hmm.
whatever all the other Tony Stark robots all the others
Yeah,
that fly
I don't
around.
remember. I think they are Sentinels
Yeah,
from the beginning of Ultron.
yeah,
What that Ultron is at the beginning. Yeah,
yeah,
one of
yeah.
those.
So I mean it's very that. Um, it's also yeah they just didn't. I don't know. It reminds me of what were the ones? Was it the new troopers that were in Rogue One that they like made a big deal about, and then also weren't that
Oh, the Death Troopers,
the Death Troopers? Yeah,
which is annoying because Moff Gideon had Death Troopers in the finale of last, and I always thought like if you're gonna make, so this is a quick digression. If you're gonna do all black stormtroopers, they existed in the pre-Disney canon, and they were called Shadow Troopers, and they were awesome. They were just black stormtrooper. They were literally just the traditional stormtrooper armor, but all jet black, and they were phenomenal. Love
nice,
it.
love it.
Um, they didn't do that and then they released Death Troopers for Rogue One, and I'm like, well, that's annoying because it's like a different design, and like I don't get it, and why are there this elite group of all that? What fine. And now you're gonna do Dark Troopers, which I'm like, I'm sure they're gonna be cooler because of their abilities, but I'm like, okay, so if you like commit to something here, like have some kind of
I
whatever.
I feel like that may be maybe I'm showing my pessimism a bit, but I feel like that there may be a rule that Disney has that is every time you pitch a new Star Wars thing, they have to have a new type of stormtrooper that they can sell. So,
And a new droid. I not even joking, like I don't think we've talked about this before. I absolutely believe that is 100% accurate. If you think of all 5 Star Wars movies that have been released by Disney, they all contain at least one new type of trooper and at least one new droid.
yeah, I could see it.
Yep. Um, yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry, where was I? 15. Good guy Boba. or at least honorable Boba.
I'm not buying it. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I talked you out of it. I'm out. 16, Cara Dune is now Marshal of the New Republic.
I'm kind of out. I don't like it. Didn't like I know they kind of set it up a little bit, but
They set it up with one scene. I'm out on this also because I was like, I think you could have done more with that. Like that seemed like an arc that was needed to be built towards and not just happen off screen where now she's just part of it.
and I mean it also it makes it seem like he's been gone for a really long time, so
Yeah.
which also confused me. So yeah, no, I'm out.
Right. And he's been gone for like a day.
Maybe, yeah.
Number 17, they need to get Bill Burr back.
What was he in season 1?
Yeah, he was. He was in the Prison Break episode.
Oh, I didn't. I was like, I feel like I should remember this character. What's going on? Yeah, I'm out.
Very out on that. It took me right out of it because he's not wearing really any. It just looks like Bill Burr. He's talking like Bill Burr. Weird, and there's no explanation for why Mando needs him. He doesn't. He says, "I need to find this guy, and where is he?" And she's like, "Okay." I'm like, "Why do you need him?"
Well, didn't he say because he would know, like he would know how to find Moff Gideon or something?
Oh, maybe. I missed it. I heard him ask for her, and I was already off put by the Cara Dune thing.
I mean, yeah, it's again they're doing a lot of things great with the show. Their plotting and plot logic is not one of them.
Yeah, a little bit. Some things clearly fall to the wayside to work on the stuff that is clearly working. Yeah. Number 18, Grogu using the dark side like a boss.
100% here for it.
Yeah, love it. Force choking, using I think you mentioned this in a previous episode, using the Force for attack. You could make the case that he's trying to defend himself, but he's not. Like they're not like trying to hurt him. They're just standing there, and he is. Love it. Love. I hope we get more into that. Number 19, Moff Gideon's break in the steely demeanor in his interaction with Grogu, and he's kind of being a little bit more playful.
No, I like that too, actually.
Love it, because Giancarlo Esposito has a lot of range, so I like to see him not just playing like the same stone-faced Gus Fring. Like I like the playful side. And then go ahead.
Yeah, it just makes that whole thing much more interesting. And like even him like toying with him with the darksaber.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Like you're not ready to play with these yet, or like you'll poke your eye out. And I was like, that was good. I like my villains with a little bit of that, showy, over the top. We obviously both Disney fans. We like our villains a little on the Disney side.
Yeah, it's that big. Yeah, it's Scar singing "Be Prepared." Like
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, if Moff Gideon does a musical number, I'm here for it.
Oh, I would if they did a musical episode of Mandalorian. Like I'm down. Like
it could be one of those where like he accidentally gets like high on spice, and then like imagines a musical. That's something that they would do in like season 6.
Yeah, that's gonna. They've already brought at that point. They've already brought back the monster from the trash compactor, and they're really running out of ideas. So yeah.
Oh. All right, and then final in or out. Just the episode as a whole. I think we know.
Absolutely, and like I said, this is the best episode the show's done. I think in a lot of ways, this is the first episode that's proven that the show really works. The show has worked on an individual episode level, but I think one of the things we've talked about, is a lot of the individual episodes. Well, where's this going? What are they doing? I mean, we're nearing the end of season 2, and there was a semblance of a plot. And I think this episode, it's like, if you're going to watch one episode of The Mandalorian, like this is what The Mandalorian show is about.
Yeah.
Like it's this character protecting this child from evil while other random Star Wars characters show up.
Yes.
That's what the show is.
Perfect way to put it. Love the episode. Agree with you. I guess we'll see how the last 2 episodes shake out, if anything tops this, but I think this is my number 1 of the season. And again, I'm going to have to think about it, but I think it might be my favorite episode. Any final thoughts on chapter 14, the tragedy?
Oh, so I do want to say I was very impressed because we didn't mention this, but you essentially called this episode where you were like, he's going to go to Jedi Mountain and something's going to happen and Moff Gideon's going to take the child. And I was like, oh, damn. I was like, Brian was right on with this one. Like,
I think you and I pitched basically everything that happened in this episode except for the Boba Fett thing, but
Yep.
the exact, like, the tracker will kick in. We were just one episode off. I think we had this at the penultimate episode.
Yep.
But I think we're still going to get the, obviously, I think we're still going to get the spear fight versus the Darksaber, which we're here for. So, yeah, I mean, I didn't expect this episode, honestly. I thought this was going to be another, as my wife puts it, another in-betweener where we take a breath and we go back to meet Kara and Grief and like do a small little adventure before we jump into it. But the child has been taken and the Mandalorian doesn't care at all.
Yeah, there we go. So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Do we see his face this season?
Yeah, 100%.
Ooh.
And okay, actually, you and I don't know if you talked about this on the show. You and I have been tracking the posters of this episode because they were 4 released prior to the season, and then they've done a poster for every episode that has been a new revealed character, Moff Gideon being the only exception. So we have 2 left. I'm sorry, we have 3 left. I assume this one will be Boba Fett and Fennec on the poster, and we'll have 2 left. Unless, barring some crazy circumstances where it's like Thrawn or a Jedi or whatever Jedi that the child reached out to, I think that the final poster will be a helmetless Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, because I think if he gets the child back and he whatever accepts his true heritage, I think that the days of him only wearing the helmet are numbered.
I could see that being like the big ending note for season 2. And I mean, I do think that plays with the idea as well of this only being like maybe a 3-4 season show.
Yep. I think you're right.
Yeah.
Truly.
I could take that.
Because I think your sequel spinoff generator is, again, the best call that I've heard about this show. But that is chapter 14 of the tragedy. Willie and I will be back talking more M.A.N.D.O, talking more Star Wars. We have an exciting solo episode coming up that I literally cannot wait to talk about. Willie, thank you very much.
Thanks for leading us.